Never Sleeps podcast, in which we learn about the folks that are on the front lines protecting patient safety and delivering patient care. I'm Ed Gaudette, the host of the program. And today I am pleased to be joined by Neil Morris, the head of IT for Redaptive.
That's correct.
Right? All right, cool. Let's start off with sharing a little bit about your current role in your organization for listeners.
Yeah, so head of IT for Redaptive. Redaptive is a energy and sustainability company.
Mm-hmm.
We refer to it as infrastructure monetization. Previously, you might have heard energy as a service.
Mm-hmm.
But we provide HVAC, solar, lighting, a lot of different physical infrastructure elements for different companies across predominantly the United States, and allow them to reduce their energy consumption, which reduces their energy bill, and buy those services that are important to keeping their manufacturing plant running, their hospital running, right? Those kind of items in a similar way as you pay for your power bill, allowing different companies to focus on buying infrastructure that is more directly related to their core business. So if you're a hospital, like investing in a new CAT scan machine, right? Instead of worrying about the air conditioner on the roof, right?
Mm-hmm.
As critical as that might be, and not core to the patient results.
And so sounds like you have a couple of customers in healthcare.
A few,
Yeah.
right? My role, like leading IT, I'm not directly chatting with all of our customers, right? And it's certainly not one of our largest kind of verticals. A lot of what we do is more industrial manufacturing.
Got it.
But we certainly have had a lot of conversations of different hospitals and medical systems, because like their facilities are energy dense, takes a lot of power, but all the I'll say widgets that are on the building, and generators, chillers, coolers, lighting, why critical aren't the main part of their business. So in the same vein of making sure manufacturers can support and buy production lines, we make sure that medical facilities can buy equipment that supports their direct needs. So certainly have a few.
And patients, and yeah. I love that. So as you look out over the next couple of years, what are some of your core initiatives for the organization?
Really, I mean, it's scale, right? So when we look at the organization and we look at what we've brought to market, we really kind of built the energy as a service market, and we're really kind of building that infrastructure monetization market. And we see power consumption going up across the board, right? And we see aging physical infrastructure to deliver that power. So it's more critical than ever for our customers to have more, I'll call it energy independence to a large extent. And if we can consume less, we put less pressure on the grid, right? We can have more stable outcomes. So it's really taking our service and figuring out how we can scale that to support our customers better, right? And look at their entire portfolio of facilities and service those in a more large scale way to make even a bigger difference in how people are consuming power and how they're managing the physical assets kind of on their buildings.
Have the demands of AI energy consumption affected you at all from a strategic perspective? Are you thinking about working in that area at all, or applying your solutions in that area?
So there's certainly been some conversations about it, right? It's not specifically core to our target demographic, because when you think of data centers, like especially in the world of AI, they require a lot of energy, and the building and the energy and the generation, like that is their business, right? Versus healthcare or industrial manufacturers, where most of our customers are, they are needed for their business, but they're not as core. We are impacted a little bit because those large gigawatt co-location facilities and plants are putting additional strain on the grid, right? Which creates risk for some of our customers. And can the grid keep up? And like, how do you provide the power? There's a lot of conversations there around data centers and AI, but not particularly direct to what Redaptive is trying to do, at least at this time.
Now, nuclear seems to be back in vogue. Do you see that as a path for the country?
I do, right? So
Mhm.
it's like, not talking about Redaptive specifically
Yeah.
or any of those, but when I look at like, the military's use of nuclear reactors in the nuclear navy and the Rickover reactor and its safety, like, its streak, right? I don't believe there's ever been a nuclear accident like at sea, right? With some of those, types of reactors.
Yeah.
Certainly you've had other issues, but those, small nuclear reactors and those micro nuclear production for some of those data center applications, I think could be a very interesting strategy. And I'm hearing a lot of different people talk about small scale nuclear reactors in one way or the other to power this energy greedy monster that's AI and large
Yeah.
language models. So certainly a fascinating kind of conversation, and I think it's definitely going to have a play over the next 3 to 10 years.
I think I saw Rick Perry was involved in building out a company in Texas to do that, right?
I
Have
don't
you?
I don't know if I saw that one. It does
Yeah.
not surprise me, but yeah, it's all over the place, and definitely certain states are probably a little bit more regulatory friendly
Yeah.
with that than others.
Texas,
Uh,
IE.
Yeah, Texas, IE, yeah. And then it's like
Yeah.
trying to figure out how to do that safely,
Yeah.
right, and all the right controls and governance around it, and whether it's power and nuclear or AI itself, the whole governance risk is
Yeah.
part
To
of
bring
the
it back at
conversation.
scale, like doing it at scale is going to be the challenge, especially as the demand for AI and the consumption for AI continues to scale exponentially.
Yeah, I heard a conversation it was about a week ago, and it was, Jeff Bezos was talking and relating some of it to like when the big telecom companies were laying down fiber in the early .com, and it
Yeah.
never really got consumed at that time, and there was a bit of a bubble in this constriction. Right,
Yeah.
we're seeing all this building, like, and I do think there's a little bit of a bubble with AI, right? But we're laying down a lot of the foundation, whether it be large data centers and micronuclear reactors and all this physical infrastructure to support it. Like, it might not all be consumed with the current AI models as we get more
Yeah.
efficient and effective and
Yeah, exactly.
small
Yeah.
language models,
Yeah.
but the consumption's going to catch up at some point. And I don't know
Yeah,
if
that's
that's in
Yeah.
5 years or 10 years, but
All right.
uh,
Or 3 years.
or 3 years, right?
which is
Like,
incredible to even think about. Like it's the pace at which, I mean, you've probably been through the internet boom, and yeah, so you
but
remember that, and this is so much more compressed. It's
there was
incredible.
I think it was MITRE survey that's been referenced a handful of times over the last handful of months in conversations I've been in that's talking about the capabilities of AI, doubling every like few months, right? And you
Yes.
certainly see OpenAI and Anthropic and Google with Gemini and Grok and like all these models, one up in each other. It seems like every other week, and like it's completely unprecedented, just the amount of adoption and advancement, and it's at the same time frightening to try to figure out how do we do it responsibly and entertaining and exciting, right? All at the same time, right? So it's
Yeah,
a gamut.
and like you said, scary because unlike the internet, which and I haven't really done the calculus with
Right.
AI yet to the positive, but unlike the internet, where the innovation drove growth and drove job growth, right? Yeah, and there was definitely a readjustment of jobs. There's no question. But AI, that readjustment, I don't think we address it. I don't think we're really addressing what's happening right now. And it's significant if you dig into the numbers.
Oh, it is, and you see all these announcements on different job loss here or there and those kind of things, and certainly there's going to be some adjustment and some reskilling and like some adaptation that people are going to need to do, because if I tell people if you can define your job algorithmically, right, you can probably like
Replace.
replace it with AI, which means as people in work, it's like, how do we use AI to do our jobs better? How do we, really make it that co-pilot so we can get better results and better quality? And how do I start to hand off intentionally those things that are very algorithmic to allow me to do things that are more creative, right? How do I better support customers? How do I, better find people that are right, market fit for us? How do I get more creative with interesting solutions? Because I don't think AI is there yet.
No,
I don't know if it will ever get there, but that human creativity, I think, is really where we'll be able to lean in, right? And they'll certainly need hard math skills and those people to build AI itself. But if you're in, you know, accounting, right, and it's very algorithmic, it's like, okay, how do you really help the AI improve in those areas? And then how do you bring the human element, right, to the forefront of the discussions, which is going to be some reskilling, and you're certainly seeing job changes, but I'm also excited about it because I think looking at the telecom boom, looking at the internet boom, looking at looking at like Ford, right, you're rolling out assembly lines and stuff, and the amount of employees that they hire now with machinery versus what they did years ago, right? It ends up increasing, but as you're going through it, it's certainly unnerving. It doesn't feel good.
It doesn't feel good. And it took us, I mean, I'll throw this number out, 30 years to sort of make that full transition from pre-internet to today, right? So you had sort of that, you had some pain, but it was, I mean, for folks that went through it, doesn't feel manageable, but collectively it was probably manageable at a societal level. I wonder if it's going to be so compressed that that's the problem. Is that I heard someone today on a webinar say the tech companies are not hiring right now. They've stopped hiring, and so think about that. Like, they were one of the big growth engines. They're not hiring. There's no new jobs in tech, and that is going to be the situation in 5 years, 10 years in every other sector.
Yeah, the speed of change and that ability to adapt, right? You think of you going through kind of almost a grief curve, right? Of like, that takes
a
time.
Grief curve,
right.
That's
it's
right, it's mind blowing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, trying to do it on the time scale that AI is enabling, just because of such a rapid adoption, just makes it really difficult for people to adapt, right, and understand. And it's changing so quickly, right? I think from telecom and .com booms and all these previous generations. Like, personally, I felt I was able to stay relatively current and up to speed with everything that's coming out.
Exactly.
Nowadays, like, I'm reading constantly, and I always have, right? But it feels overwhelming to try to stay relevant across the conversation, right? So I end up kind of almost picking a horse, right, and saying, okay, how do I stay really relevant with what Anthropic is doing, or how do I stay very relevant on what Google is doing, or Grok, right? But then you see all these little news articles about what other ones are doing. It's like, oh, that's really cool. Like, all you have to do is sit down and wait about 3 weeks, and then it's on the other platform. But it's like, it feels overwhelming in some respects.
It does feel overwhelming, for sure. Yeah. No, I could talk all day about that topic, but let's dig into your origin story. How did you get to where you are today? How'd you get into this job, this role, this life?
Yeah, so I mean, my career has taken a lot of various twists and turns, right? So I never really thought I would be in a tech career, right? My wife and I got married very young, and actually I had a sister-in-law that was like, I didn't know what I wanted to do after high school, and grabbed me and said, hey, like, come through this tech program, right? And that kind of started me off on my tech career, because she wanted to make sure that I made a living and was able to take care of her sister.
Oh, wait, so you got married in high school?
I got married just after high school. My oldest was born my sophomore year in high school, right? So I was a father at 16.
That's
right.
That's early,
And,
But
that's early.
You're probably out of diapers now, though.
Oh yeah, my
your
youngest is
grandkids
now
are back.
20.
You have
Yeah, my
grandkids.
youngest is 20, and I got a 12-year-old granddaughter at this
Yeah,
point.
awesome,
Um,
awesome.
but so that's kind of
Yeah,
what got me into tech.
yeah.
And I got in networking in the late
Ah,
90s,
oh, like
right?
Banyan Vines or
Oh, like
uh,
X.25
oh,
networking and
X25. Yeah,
hissy cards on the back of old Cisco 2600s when you had
nice.
Novell, you have you had
Yeah,
311 and Novell 411 were coming out, and like Active Directory hadn't won the war, and you could still
yeah,
talk SPX networking and like um
yeah. When people
but
thought Novell was an operating system.
yeah, so it's so I got into networking, and like I was fortunate enough to kind of see some of the curves with voice over IP and really learned
Yeah,
that. And that
nice.
led me into getting into contact center technologies. And right when I started getting into contact centers and learning software and the networking and the hardware, like, and I really started to geek out on it at that point, and ended up working at at IBM and Tata Communications, and then ended up
Nice.
as an architect for ADT Security, which alarming pre like mobile IP days, all dial up kind of stuff,
Yeah.
millions of signals an hour, which was great fun. That then learned how to apply technology as a business person, right? Which really then transformed it as I went to Digital Globe and Maxar, and then led IT as CIO for Ball Aerospace. They got acquired by BAE Systems, and that led to
Oh
me
yeah.
kind of being at Redaptive. But a lot
You're
of
a you're a prophet of the protocol.
I am. It's yeah, that's yeah. Right, it's a lot of packet pushing,
A lot of
right?
packet pushing, right?
Like just like digital plumbing, right? All those kind
That's
of
right.
things.
That's right.
And but just kind of always had a fairly good knack of like, hey, networking, voice over IP, call center. Oh, now call center is starting to be used on cloud. So I was
Mm.
early in on AWS,
Oh yeah,
right? And
nice.
leveraging it, and like you now trying to really lean into AI and how can we apply it, and how can we create differentiation for our companies
Yeah.
using technologies that are really at the forefront to stay relevant across all sorts of industries, right? With IBM, I supported Bank of America and Ford and Disney, right?
Wow.
So a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
really big logos. And so I'm not a finance guy or a healthcare guy or a telco guy. Like I've kind of been able to do all of it, which just gives me a really interesting perspective. And it's funny because I just, or kind of cool, I guess, because I see a lot of relations between different industries,
Yeah.
different regulatory frameworks, different governance and risk, compliance kind of items, but like there's more similarities in a lot of industries than differences. So people that are
Sure.
like, oh, you need to come from a finance background or you need to come from a healthcare background. I almost challenge that because I think it limits our thinking.
I agree 100%. I've done 11 companies, all different backgrounds, all different technologies, all different. Well, ADHD probably. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I need to have you got to be challenged. You need to learn new things. My dad worked at the same company doing the same job for 40 plus years. It's like that ain't me, babe. I'm not doing.
That was my father as well. He was blue collar
Yes,
worker,
mine
retired
too.
from Pepsi Cola,
Yeah.
right?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yep. Yep.
I haven't. I mean, I've had three fairly long term stints at different companies that were all about 6 to 7 years,
Yeah.
right? And those were pretty good runs.
Yeah. I hear you.
But can't seem to make it longer than that before looking for a new challenge, a new
Yeah.
adventure, a
My
new problem to solve.
my third job, my third or fourth job into it, my dad reached out to me like, yeah, your mother and I are going to come up this weekend. We want to talk to you. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, what the hell is this all about? He sits me down. He's like, do you have a problem with keeping a job? I'm like, what? He's like, what are you talking about? Well, we're really concerned. You don't seem to be able to keep a job. I'm like, Dad, this is tech. This is the industry. This is what I'm in. It's
Well,
it,
I haven't had as direct a conversation, but I that has came up in various conversations over the years of like, oh,
yeah,
because like I have a sister who's a wonderful teacher out in California, and she's been teaching for now
yeah,
20 years, right? And her husband like was in the military and then came out and he was a military police and he became a police officer,
Yeah.
right? Long-term career. Like, so my parents are sitting there like, what's wrong with Neil? Why is he like, well, why can't he keep a job? It's like, oh, that's just not really the way tech works.
No,
Like a,
you just
like,
yeah, yeah. I would say my mind's on fire. That's my response now.
oh,
My mind's on fire. Like,
yeah, it's fine. But I enjoy it too.
Yeah.
Just,
Well,
learning something new,
that's
new
great.
challenges.
Yeah.
Like I'm a problem solver at
Yes.
heart
Yes.
and
Yes.
a tinkerer, right?
Yes.
So like, how do we move this business forward? Like, what are its biggest challenges? How can we solve these? Okay, how are we gonna get these things fixed? And give me a pen, a whiteboard, and a handful of geeks,
Mhm.
right? And let's just talk about what are the biggest business problems that we have,
Mhm.
and let's figure out how to solve them, and then dive into that, right, with all the passion that there is. But then my wife will remind me also then tends to lead to a lot of hours because I've never been the 40-hour-a-week person either,
What
right?
is that?
So
What's 40 hours look like? That's vacation. That's what 40 hours is.
yeah, it's like, yeah, 8 to 5 happens twice a day, right? It's yeah.
Right. That's fun. All right. So I usually ask other questions about your background. So I'll ask you this first question. If you could go back in time and tell your 20-year-old self something, what would it be?
Ooh. If I was going to tell my 20-year-old self something, it would be to focus on understanding the business first, right? Like, I got into tech really early and I did very well with it, right? And for the first decade, until I got into my 30s, probably, I was about the tech, right? And it was, very leaning into that. And things got much easier. And I saw a lot more career progression when I learned how to speak to HR and marketing and sales and
Yeah.
legal and finance, right? And started using their language, right? And helping them apply technology to the problems they were trying to solve, right? So if I could speed up the clock of educating myself that like, tech for tech isn't going to produce the results you want, figure out the business and its biggest problems, then apply it there.
I love that.
That's what I would have. If I knew that 10
That's
to
good.
15 years earlier, like,
That's good. I think 160 episodes in, I think that's the first time someone said that. So that's good.
okay,
That's a good, no, I agree. It's like, the things you learn, throughout your career, and you took I think similarly, once you understand the business and how the business operates, all of a sudden, like, the possibilities become endless because you
Yeah.
understand how things work. Like,
yeah,
versus you're no longer a cog, you're like the whole engine.
yeah,
Your
like,
knowledge is
yeah, like,
yeah, I love that. If you weren't doing this, what would you be doing?
Mhm.
You got any other passions or?
So I do have a handful of other passions. I mean, my wife and I own a martial arts school,
Oh,
right?
wow.
I've done martial arts now for closer to 40 years than 35.
Which school?
Dude,
What type of martial arts?
So it's a Kempo school,
Oh, yeah.
right? So Kempo school up in
Nice.
Firestone, and we teach Kempo and Kami Shinryu Aki Jiu-Jitsu, which is a fairly, I'll call it obscure kind of jiu-jitsu, right? If you think of like Hapkido or some of those, you get a little bit more name recognition. But so that's certainly a passion.
And what's the difference? What makes that unique?
So it's very similar to like a Hapkido or a Keto kind of style. But when you say jiu-jitsu, a lot of people nowadays think about like Brazilian jiu-jitsu and MMA and rolling on the ground. So it's more of a stand-up, joint lock, small joint manipulation
Okay.
style. So I have a passion for that. But if I had to pick a different career, and I've had the opportunity to do this on the side a few times and found I really enjoyed it, is I'd go into teaching.
Yeah.
Right. I really enjoy teaching. I've taught at Front Range Community College. I taught at Ecotech, right? So
Yeah.
at that kind of junior college level or
Yeah.
undergraduate level, I really like helping people explore ideas and those kind of things. So even when I get to do more like coaching and training at work, I find it very fulfilling. So I'd go into teaching, right? If I had to,
Nice.
if I was
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
do something completely different.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm doing a little bit of that now. It is rewarding. It's, it's,
yeah, it's, I keep telling myself it'll be teaching, coaching, like, executive support or something will be kind of
Yeah.
my down ramp when I get to that point in my career where I don't want to sit in the kind of CIO seat or leading IT seat
Yeah.
anymore, and like help others kind of be successful in that. So I'm still
If you
hoping
could
that will be
combine,
my second career, but
yeah, if you could combine the two passions of jujitsu with teach, like, like career
that's,
jujitsu or something like,
yeah, something like that. Something
that'd
like
be
that.
kind of cool,
There,
right?
there's a lot of good lessons in
Yeah,
martial arts that you can bring into at the
exactly.
boardroom, right? At that
Yeah.
calm, collective, take a breath. It's slow to flow,
I
like
love that. Yeah.
so.
Yeah, you could write a blog piece on that. I might steal that. No,
That'd
just
be
kidding.
good.
That's a good. That's a good.
But,
You do any writing?
a little bit, a little
Yeah.
bit. So I've really started to be a little bit more active on LinkedIn and sharing different posts, and I've
Yeah.
been writing a weekly article,
Nice.
to try to help people understand. And it's really about AI is what I've been focusing on,
Cool.
talking about like not using IT for IT's sake, but applying it to the business. But don't just use AI, but like really align the business to what you're going to use and what problems you're going to solve. So you're not
Hmm.
like, you don't have a hammer strategy, right? So I don't think you should have an AI strategy, right? You should have a AI enabled business strategy,
Yeah.
right?
I like
So
that.
a lot of
Yeah.
writing and focusing on kind of that from a,
Is
you
that
know,
a newsletter? You do the LinkedIn newsletter
I
that you
do the
can
LinkedIn
subscribe to?
newsletter
Oh,
every,
I'll check it out. Yeah, yeah,
so.
cool. Cool. This is the Risk Never Sleeps podcast. So I have to ask you this question. What's the riskiest thing you've ever done, Neil?
Ooh, the riskiest thing I've ever done?
Skydiving,
I've never,
motorcycles,
yeah,
bungee jumping,
I've never
a
done
rave
any
at
like
3 a.m.
really like thrill seeking things, right?
You
I've
a
done,
hiker? You must be a hiker. You must hike.
I do a lot of hiking,
Yeah.
right? I've done an Ironman,
Oh, cool.
right? I like show you some pictures of my wife, and I in our martial arts school.
That's
Like that
pretty
would make
risky.
you think that's fairly risky, right?
That's very
Yeah,
risky.
and in that vein, I joke a bit, and like, yeah, not doing the dishes is probably the riskiest thing because my wife has been doing martial arts for a very long time as well, and she's gonna make sure that I hold up my end of the bargain at home.
I
Uh,
love that.
so
Again, new territory for the show. That's so, that's so great. And how long you been married?
so my wife and I have been together now for 32 years,
Wow, congrats.
married for 27.
Oh,
I
congrats.
said
It's
we
incredible.
met freshman year in high school.
Incredible.
It did end up getting pregnant after that. We lived apart and kind of both finished high school and got married
Yeah.
right after high school.
Awesome.
And now have 4 wonderful daughters,
Oh,
one granddaughter.
I'm,
So,
I'm a father of 3 daughters.
okay, yeah, girl
Yes,
dad.
yeah,
Yeah.
girl dad. Yeah,
Well,
that's what I tried to say the other day. I think I said something else like dad daughter or something. Girl dad, girl dad. That's right. Girl dad. Yeah, I'm a girl dad. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's different, right?
Oh, it is. Now I don't know anything else.
No, I know
Right.
exactly.
So I tell
Yeah,
my daughters, and 2 of them are married now. I have one granddaughter. It's like, it's like when you guys choose to have children, like I almost need you to try to have girls because I wouldn't know what to do with a little boy.
we
Right.
got a grandson.
Oh,
6 months. Yeah.
congratulations.
It's incredible, Neil. I gotta tell you, it's incredible.
Oh.
And he's getting into the state of like, he's got so much energy, and he's not even crawling yet, but he's like, and I can just see it. It's like, oh boy, oh no,
This is going to be fun to watch them go through.
This is gonna be
Yes.
hard on the back and the legs. Yeah, no,
Oh.
it's already started. My wife is, God bless her soul, she's the built-in daycare, so
Yeah.
but she'd kill me for saying. So don't listen to this podcast, honey. I'm glad she doesn't know jujitsu or because I definitely would be in trouble. I'd be on the floor. Yeah. Anyway, all right. Well, that's cool. So let's see. You're on a desert island. You could bring 5 albums with you. This is sort of what kind of music are you into? What would you bring?
Ooh, what would I bring? I have massively kind of eclectic taste,
Me too.
right? When I
So
was
this will be
in
fun.
high school, right, I played trombone in the jazz band and really got an appreciation for Dizzy Gillespie,
Yeah.
Thelonious Monk,
Yeah.
Glenn Miller,
Nice.
like, that kind of,
Yeah.
big band,
Yeah.
right, kind of music. And
Cool.
just that, you know,
Did you like
jazz.
bebop? Did you like any bebop
I
or?
do like bebop. I like
Yeah.
blues. Right,
Yeah.
growing up in Fresno, right, a lot of kind of cowboys. So '90s
Yeah.
kind of country as well, right?
Nice.
Probably a lot of haters there as well, right? That can be polarizing. I like a lot of like classic rock,
Mm-hmm.
right?
All
So
right.
and you
So,
think of like AC/DC and
oh, okay.
those could be in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Swifties out there. I wouldn't necessarily count myself as a Swiftie, but I like a lot of Taylor Swift kind of music, right? She produces a lot of it, right? So I could
Her
definitely see in
recent
that.
albums have been great. Like she's
Oh,
really coming into. I mean, she's a great writer, lyricist. I mean,
yeah,
incredible musician.
which I
Oh,
think is kind of where I have just like very eclectic taste because like the improv skills of jazz and just that kind of evolution of music is wonderful to watch.
but
Listening to her music and kind of it evolve in the writing and the
yeah.
storytelling is amazing, right?
Okay, if we're at Red Rocks, are we together seeing this band?
Oh, it absolutely could be. Yes. Yes.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Yeah, which is a jazz band, really. They're really like a
Oh,
jazz band with guitars and drums and bass, and yeah,
yeah.
that's what makes them
I
so special. Uh,
absolutely. So
yeah. Oh, cool, cool. All right. Last question. If you could give advice to a new graduate coming in that wants to break into tech, high tech, IT, and or healthcare, what would you say to him or her?
focus on solving a problem.
Mm.
Right. And I think of it, and I spent a couple years going through like a PhD program in organizational and behavior management. Never finished. I'll go back and finish my PhD at some point. Right. But as a research degree, right, and you start thinking about dissertation, it's like, how do you become the seminal expert in one very specific thing? Right.
Hmm.
Um, and you see a lot of different experts in different areas, and the people that I see making the most impact like are taking that same kind of laser focus on being that expert in solving one very specific problem, right? So very much looking at what that niche is. So if you're coming into like an organization as a technologist, as a person, right? You figure out whether it's a technology that you're going to learn really well, right? It could be cloud, which is a little bit more general, right? But like think of like infrastructure as code for AWS or Azure, right?
Hmm.
Or like Kubernetes, right? Itself could be a very like
Yeah.
full career just trying to master it and all the networking overlays and those kind of items, or CI/CD, or but pick one, right? Because I think you'll get a lot further faster in helping the business solve problems than being a generalist. And like tying that back to some of the AI conversations, when you think of the access to information and those kind of items, I think AI is providing a lot of capability for people to be very good generalists, right? But it won't help with those very special niche skills,
Hmm.
right? So advice would be go deep, pick something you're passionate about, and stick with it for a couple of years. Right? You might
Great.
choose to move on,
Yeah.
right? But pick something to stick with for a few years and
Good.
become the go-to expert in that very
I love
narrow
that.
niche
Yeah,
and
and use that as
solving
a
a
building
real
block.
business problem.
Yeah, and use it as a building block, and solve real business problems, like you said,
Real.
and understand how the business operates, so you can solve those
Yes.
real business problems.
Yeah.
Go back
So
to your
take
earlier.
that deep knowledge, apply it to
Yeah,
something that adds business value, and become the go-to person
that's
in
great.
that niche.
Yeah, excellent. Great advice. We're here with Neil Morris. This is Ed Gaudet from the Risk Never Sleeps podcast. If you're on the front lines protecting patient safety and delivering patient care, remember to stay vigilant because risk never sleeps.